Welcome to Screen Chat, live from the Media Hub on rightradio.ca. I'm your host, Justin, and with me today behind the scenes, we have Eldon. Eldon, thank you for being here as always. And we do have Megan here now as well. Megan, thank you for being here to tech the show. We cannot do the show without you guys behind the scenes. As you guys know, Screen Chat is your show all about the latest Marvel movies, DC Comics, Stars, adaptations, and much, much more. Today, I thought, you know what? We're approaching August now, and let's do a little bit of a summer reflection. You know, there's been a lot of stuff that's been going on in my summer, and I think it's time to reflect that. But it's not going to be a traditional summer look back because it's not about what I'm actually doing in real life. It's what was I doing in the video game world. And I was at Hackett's Quarry summer camp. And today that's what the discussion is all about, because I recently replayed and finished the Quarry, Supermassive's game from 2022. And this game is 3 years in the making for me because shout out to my boys Floyd and Rama from the 757. We played this game when it came out. You know, three of us, we hopped on a call, hopped on the PlayStation, and not only was it one of my favorite video game experiences, we did not finish the game properly. So it took me 3 years to come back to this game, and now here we are finally. I'm able to review it because I recently replayed it with Alicia, and now we are back to talk about Supermassive's, I guess, biggest production since Until Dawn. And as you guys know, around here, Until Dawn is one of my favorite games of all time. So why not talk about its unofficial, I guess, sequel, spin-off? I don't really know what to call this one, but I think they're canon, maybe not. So let's dive into it. So the lore, as I mentioned right off the brink, that this game takes place in the summer, and I feel like when you see the setting of the Quarry and you look at, okay, cool, you know what, the poster of the game, the start of the game, it's very summer campy. You know that it's not going to be in Alberta the way Until Dawn was. This one is at a summer camp, and you're in, I guess, the back end of summer because the game starts off and you are at the last day of camp and you say goodbye to the camp counselors, and you don't really know what's going on. You get a chance to, I guess, meet some of the cast along the way, but before we do that, we do have a very interesting epilogue. And now this is where we're going to dive into the characters. So when you start the game, you have a nice starry night, and you hear Ariana Grande's Moonlight playing in the background, and then we are greeted to Laura and Max. These are the first two characters that we see, and Laura and Max specifically, this is where, I guess, you don't really know, but you know with these two characters specifically, I should say that something's going on. So we see Laura and Max. It appears that they hit maybe a body, an animal, something like that on the road, and they end up going off course. They look very spooked. And funny enough, Max, if you watched our last episode on Screen Chat, you might think, is that Jimmy Olsen? And you are right. Skylar Genosi is in this game as well. So back-to-back episodes where an actor is featured in a movie and then a video game. That might be a Screen Chat Easter egg first. So, yep, Skylar Genosi's back. And I really like their initial dynamic because we know that they're going to be camp counselors as well at Hackett's Quarry Summer Camp. And Laura mentions that she called Mr. Hackett, left a message that they'd be coming up a day early. However, other than the full moon, we know nothing about this place because they get lost. So upon further investigation into what maybe they hit, they are greeted by a police officer. And this guy, he essentially tells them, look, you guys need to head to the Harbinger Motel. You're not going to Hackett's Quarry Summer Camp. That's not happening tonight. You need to get to the Harbinger Hotel. And after a bit of manipulation tactics that I always like to see, Laura finds out where Hackett's Quarry is thanks to this police officer who's played by Ted Raimi. Funny enough, that is Sam Raimi's brother, who did the Spider-Man movies in the 2000s. So I thought that's a nice little Easter egg. You'll hear a lot of actors, or at least names that you're familiar with, because this cast is pretty stacked. So after they have their interaction with the police officer, they go to Hackett's Quarry, and from there, that's when stuff kind of hits the fan. This guy, I don't know how he is a police officer, but he ends up injecting Laura with a sedative and, presumably kidnaps her. And then this is all before Max is greeted and attacked by what looks like a wild animal. Now, a lot of the stuff that we will be discussing today, I unfortunately cannot bring up images and videos, not for any other reason than they're just too gory. So I'm going to say right off the brink, that is just the general start of the Quarry video game. If you haven't played the game and you want to, I guess, experience all this for yourself, I would recommend clicking off the video, go either watch somebody play it or play it yourself, because again, this is more of like a loose review with my takes, not a lot of gameplay footage, and in fact, no gameplay footage at all, because it is just a little bit too graphic to show. So that being said, everyone that is still here, I'm assuming that you've either played the game or you know the game, and now you want to hear my take on it, because everyone's story is different, and now here you are to finally discuss the Quarry Supermassive Games, I guess, sister series to Until Dawn. Now, this is where we can now move on to discussing the main cast. So, one of my favorite photos of the whole game is the... Excuse me, sorry. I hope no one tries... why are you shaking your head? Anyways, my apologies. I really like this cast, and I think they were introduced in a really nice way in the title screen. There's a loading screen, I should say, and we see a nice campfire pic of them. So what's really cool is that the campfire kind of showcases who we're going to be using and what the vibe is. And this is them in the title screen, right before the title screen. Sorry, we see these guys, and yeah, pretty good cast. I'm going to go off of memory, and I'm going to go left to right. So we have Nick, Dylan, Ryan, Caitlin, Jacob, Emma, and Abby. So this is it's a really good cast. You might notice some familiar faces there because we do have Ariel Winter on the far right. She plays Abby. Justice Smith, he plays Ryan, who you might know from Detective Pikachu. And then obviously Caitlin is played by Brenda Song, who we all know from The Sweet Life on Deck and The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody. Now, everyone else that's in this game, was not too familiar with them on face value when I first played it, but then I found out more about them, so maybe we'll dive into that. Ted Raimi was another example. I didn't realize that was him when I first played it. So with these characters specifically, I feel like there were a lot of cool performances. I'd say my favorite performance was probably Jacob. Now, Jacob is objectively a terrible character. However, he's supposed to be like the Mike from Until Dawn. He's supposed to be like the Mike of the story. It was an attempt. It was good. I thought Caitlin was very strong and firm, and like she stood on business throughout most of the game, I should say. Not a huge fan of Emma and Abby, but I think that's because in my gameplay, which we'll get to, they didn't really have their fleshed out story that they should have. You know, in my gameplay, Emma makes out with the guy that Abby likes to make Jacob jealous, and Turn just, burns two bridges in one. And then you don't really see Emma after that, which we'll get to. So it is what it is. I really liked Dylan and Ryan. Surprisingly, they were kind of teased as lovers at some point, which was it was an interesting take because everyone just kind of they felt like a middle school couple. They everyone just forced them on each other to be like, dude, just go for it, and they did. It was nice. And it was cool too. So I played it with Alicia, and we have a friend Dylan, and the Dylan in this game reminded me a lot of my friend Dylan. So it was pretty funny playing as one of my boys, it seemed. And moving on to Nick now. Nick was really cool. He turns early, which we'll get to, and he was the one that you kind of lose first no matter how you play the game. He was really feeling Abby, and unfortunately he ended up making out with Emma, and that also burned that bridge too. So thought the main cast was pretty good. That's just a quick overview of them. Moving on now, Mr. Hackett, the aforementioned, we finally get to see him the next morning. And he looks a little weird, a little sussed out. And I don't really know why. At least you don't know at this point. And he is very much to the book, firm. You're not really gonna get a lot of personality from Mr. Hackett. I haven't been to a ton of summer camps, I think, ever in my adult life. So I don't know how camp counselors move and camp coordinators move, I should say. But he seemed pretty scared. I don't know what was causing that. And then we find out that Jacob really wants to stay at Hackett's quarry, and that causes Hackett to crash out. This guy was a D1 crash out when Jacob ended up messing with the car, causing them to stay at the campground. I don't really know why he was crashing out. I'm playing it for the first time. I'm wow, man, do you just hate kids? Do you hate your gang? Because these guys are you see them all summer. What is one extra night with them? Now, between levels, we then are, I guess, greeted by a bit of a witch. Her name is Eliza. We find that out later on in the game. And Eliza is this version's Dr. Hill. So in every Supermassive game, there is always a narrator character that kind of helps you out throughout the story. Gives you different clues. We see the curator in the Dark Pictures games. We see, obviously, Dr. Hill in Until Dawn. And now we get Eliza in this one. I thought Eliza was really good. she was actually on your side. She wanted you to win. And she had these little tarot cards throughout the whole game. And there's multiple ones per level. The more you collect, the more hints you find out. So you visit Eliza, you give her a tarot, and she says, okay, cool. Let me show you the future based off of this card. And I thought it was really cool. It gave you a preface and a heads up of what you should do or what you shouldn't do going to the level. And if you actually took the time to find them, which Alicia and I, we did, we actually found at least on average about 2 per level, honestly. So we did good on that regards. I think the least we had per level was 1. So that it was pretty cool to see Eliza. Now, her story and arc and gameplay really depend on the player. So when I say this, I'm not saying I'm some crazy video game player, but if you don't find her cards, you don't have interactions. You just pull up, she says a 1-2 and then goes, well, you brought me back nothing, so I'll see you next time. But if you bring her back cards, she then reveals more to you. She reveals the story, then you understand what's going on. Now, I will say before we move on to gameplay, a lot of the voice acting here was really good, especially her. She was one of my favorite characters to interact with because she just brought the creepy vibes. To the aforementioned Hackett, he was great as well. That was actually David Arquette, former WCW World Heavyweight Champion, which I don't know how that's a real thing, but he was. And then the cast I mentioned from the start, they're all pretty solid. So we know from the jump, the main cast, they're going to be staying at the Hackett Quarry, and Hackett's not really too happy about that. And why is that? So moving on to more of the gameplay. Now, this game has a lot of interesting moments, and I couldn't really break down anything particular other than the graphics. This game is visually stunning. Now, it came out in 2022, so I know maybe beyond 2018, I don't think graphics should be too groundbreaking in my opinion. I think if it's a game that comes out in 2022 and the graphics didn't look good, there would be kind of an issue. So I thought the gameplay was lovely. The graphics, were lovely. And it was really cool to see the campgrounds fully fleshed out. I know we have another photo coming up, and I think that does showcase that a bit more. And then, okay, well, we're going to jump to this then. So jumping to this now, the gameplay was very bright and very dark as well. Now, this specific scene, I will elaborate on momentarily, but I want to get this one to showcase how it can go from such bright colors to then a dark, dim kind of feel. So we still don't know what is going on in this game, but we do know that Nick here, he has been attacked by a bear. They say, yeah, it's a wild grizzly bear. He's been attacked. And unfortunately, that he just goes a bit rabid. We think maybe it's rabies, it's something, but he launches Abby out once they get back. And then from there, he just goes crazy. He goes psycho. And then we're at a point where do we shoot him or do we keep him alive? Now, this all happens really fast, and don't get it twisted. I'm not trying to do some loose review, but the game really has you on edge because you don't know what's happening. It's up to this point, you have no idea what's going on. You just know that there are creatures out there, which we call wild grizzly bears. And next thing we know, boom, Nick is foaming at the mouth, teething, eyes are changing color. And eventually, yeah, he's... yes. Eldon was what do you mean he was teething? He was chewing on things? Yes, man. He was. So it was interesting. And then, boom, finally, this guy turns into a creature. A werewolf, bro. It was insane. I don't know how that kind of came about, but I couldn't show the clip because it's, again, very bloody. So that's kind of the common theme about this episode, is that a lot of the things are very gory. And I said to Eldon off air about 20 minutes ago, I don't think that too much gore is bad, but if you do, then you will not enjoy this video game. There is blood for days. And I think this scene was really the scene that made me think, okay, cool, we're in for something here now, because I don't know what that just was. I don't know the lore at all. And now here we go. Eldon's going to chime in. Yeah, so getting to this now, Eldon makes a good point explaining how they transform. We don't know anything yet other than he was bit. So the werewolf attacked Nick in the forest and it bit him. And then since that has now happened is when he started to turn. Now, who are the werewolves? Where'd they come about? Who is who? We don't know yet, really and truly. We have no idea what's kind of going on in that kind of respect. All we know is that there are hunters out there in the woods. Again, was gonna get photos, but too graphic. And the hunters are trying to hunt the werewolves for an unknown reason. I don't really know much about. We don't really know much about them at that point in the game, and it's kind of scary because the group is also separated. And I think this is where stuff really starts to hit the fan. So we're probably going to progress the episode a little bit now. As I said, I'm assuming you guys understand the game by now and you've played it. So werewolves, what are they? Who are they? We find out that the werewolves are actually the Hackett family. And I think in more gameplay aspects that we see with the gameplay, we're able to interact and we're able to make decisions. This is now another big QTE because this is when Nick, who I mentioned, this is when he got bit by a werewolf. What do? Do you help Nick or do you run to camp? And I think the QTEs in this game I really enjoyed because when you're playing this, if you go to help Nick, if you just touch him, do you get turned into a werewolf as well? What happens? You never know. And now you're faced with that decision. Do you run to camp? I think I chose to help him in this case, hence why he came back to camp with us. But there's just a lot that goes on. And I think, like, just furthermore with the gameplay, it felt very fulfilling. It felt more like I was playing the movie versus watching it. Like, Until Dawn is great. I think the OG adaptation of Until Dawn, it kind of feels more like you're just watching a movie versus actually playing it. This one very much so felt like I was playing, and my decisions were like had a huge impact on the game, for lack of better words. This scene again, I really enjoy it, and I think that's all for the gameplay photos that I have, unless there is more. Yeah, one more. So the next point I wanted to make was this. So finally seeing the werewolves up close, I thought these guys looked crazy, like in the game. Now, this isn't Nick, but Nick looks like this because all the werewolves look the same. And I think seeing these guys, it was very scary. They were darker because, like, this is the flashlights on them and they're covered in blood. But they looked like black Wendigos, for lack of better words. Like, they looked scary, man. And I think with this being said, there was a lot of lore that they had to explain. So just keeping this photo up, we find out that the Hackett family are the werewolves. And it's like, whoa, shocker. Like, I wasn't expecting that at all. But how did they become the werewolves? So how does anyone in this world become this is the real question, and it's pretty funny. So it all started when the original werewolf, who we find out his name is Silas, who was Eliza the witch, it was Eliza's son, he was cursed with this wicked witch curse that she put on him for entertainment. And Hackett's two kids, Kaylee and Caleb, they go and they saw Silas perform, like Silas the Wolf Boy, and they hated it. So, so I know Eldon's laughing at that. Yeah, that's what they called him. So they hated that. Silas's mom locked him up. Eventually, Caleb lit down the carnival, caused a fire. They try and make Silas escape. Silas bites Caleb. Caleb bites his sister, and so on and so forth. So the werewolf that attacked Max at the start of the game, the creature I should say, is confirmed now to be a werewolf, and the werewolf is Chris Hackett. So Chris Hackett is the first werewolf that we see in the game, and it turns out that his family, they're just trying to hunt the original, I guess, werewolf. But yeah, that is Chris, and Chris is all freaking out now because they're turning into werewolves tonight, because you turn into a werewolf every full moon, and today was the day, and they were still trying to find Silas to kill him, and that would lift the curse. Now, that's a lot to unpack. Going back to that photo with Chris, this is where like the game really takes it to the next level. And like just thinking about how Chris Hackett had the effect on the game, it's very scary, honestly, because you don't understand that this guy is like housing these teenagers and these children, and throughout the game that we don't see, I should say, he is like trying to find a werewolf to kill. His family are trying to find a werewolf to kill. And that scene that we saw there, that's when stuff really hits the fan. So one thing I want to note is that the police officer that we see at the start of the game turns out to be Travis Hackett, and that is Chris Hackett's brother, and they're all working together to try and lift the curse. That scene in the house is where you could actually like lose the game. That's pretty much the end of it, depending on what you do. So to kind of break down what happened in my game, in my adaptation, is the following. So I had like a whole list of what happened to each character, and I just destroyed the video game. I'm sorry. I was gonna give this to Eldon this weekend, but I broke it. I'm sorry. So he's crying off air. So my ending, with that all being said, with the objective of the game being survive the night and kill Silas, a lot happened in my game in comparison. So we're going to go through some of the characters and really break them down, because some of them return, such as Laura and Max. They end up joining the gang again. Some of them we never see again once you make a decision, such as Abby and even Emma. So going through with it from, I guess, least important to most important is that Abby from the brink, I told her to stay back. You don't really play with her for the rest of that. Emma, she and Jacob go off together. They get separated because Jacob leaves, and Emma ends up getting mauled by a werewolf. So I shouldn't laugh at that, but that's just what happens to her. Nothing really crazy there. Jacob himself, he leaves Emma to go try and find the others. He gets captured by Hackett's cousin, and subsequently at the Hackett complex, he gets mauled down by a werewolf. So again, Jacob did not make it through, unfortunately. Nick, you have a chance to shoot and kill Nick, which we saw. I didn't, and because of that, Nick survives. In gameplay, you could just kill Nick right there, and Nick just dies, unfortunately. So Nick, he's done. He's over. In this scene now is where so you're playing as Ryan. If you don't shoot Chris Hackett here, he kills you. And that's like such a cool part of the game, because Ryan is like his favorite camp counselor. So Ryan has a lot of like, oh, I don't want him to die, I don't want to shoot him. No, man, if you don't blick him down, he like destroys you. So you get mauled by a werewolf in that scene, and then he goes on and kills everyone else in the room. So that's a really important part of the story, because if you're unable to kill Chris Hackett, depending on what you did, the video game ends right here. It doesn't matter who else you survive, such as like the rest of the gang that I haven't mentioned yet. The game ends right here. And that's what happened the first time I played it. So I played it, and I actually shot Chris Hackett, and it was really cool. But Travis Hackett, he doesn't like you guys in my playthrough. So he ends up killing both of you. He kills Laura and Ryan, and the game ends. But when I replayed it, I was able to get Travis to like me, and he accepts his brother's fate. So we shoot him, we blick him down, and it's all good. So those are the main ones. We'll come back to them eventually. But as far as the rest of the characters, a lot of them died, unfortunately, in my playthrough. Caitlin, while trying to escape, unfortunately dies and locked herself in a freezer. Dylan, shout out Dilly, he's mauled to death by Caleb Hackett. Chris Hackett, Jedediah Hackett, Constance, and Bobby. So they all die in mine as well. So that is the whole Hackett family minus Travis and Caleb. And everyone's playthrough, Kaylee Hackett dies. She was another one of the werewolves, and Laura just shoots her throughout. Max, who I don't like, he survived in my playthrough because I kept him on the island. I did the right thing. And like I mentioned, Nick, he survived. And now this is kind of where we go to the final encounter. So if you play the cards right, the final encounter, you play as Travis, Laura, and Ryan. So it's a bit of an interesting team. You get 3 different walks of life here. You got the main character squad, you get the Hackett family member, and then you get the OG, which is Laura. And these guys, they're able, despite fighting, actually, no, wait, let me rephrase that. So all bets are off. These are our last hope, and these guys are still fighting. I was like, guys, lock in. I get it. We hate X and Y, but like, we need to just lock in. So depending on how you play this level, you also might die right away. So you presumably, with this image, you make it through the initial like driving scene, because as you're driving to find Silas, the original wolf, to kill him and like lift the curse, he pulls up on you. And if you don't beat the QTEs, Silas just kills you right then and there, kills all 3 of you. But we make it through, and so did I, and then we were able to see Silas and give Silas his proper ending. Now, in my gameplay, in my playthrough, I was able to beat the game, and on the left there, you could shoot Silas as Laura, and then in the morning time, he goes back and you see what he looked like as a human. And it's just a tragic story. You know, Silas was just a normal boy. He wanted to just live life like we all did. And his mom put a curse on him and turned him into a werewolf. And unfortunately, he's self-aware. Well, no, I guess that is fortunate. If anything, he's self-aware because he isolated himself this whole entire time. He never tried going to the Hackett Woods. He never tried this, never tried that. And that's why it took the Hackett 6 years to find him. And I think that's it's such like a cool way to humanize a monster, because even though he was such a cursed being, he knew to stay in isolation to not cause any more issues. It was just unfortunately the Hackett family that caused those issues. When you're Travis in that scene, you actually fight with Laura, and depending on how you play the game, you could, as Laura, shoot and kill Travis and subsequently wake up Silas, who then just kills you. So there's a whole lot of different things to do in this video game, and it's really all over the place, for all my honest opinion. Now, is that good? Is that bad? You know, Eldon could pick up the game today and have a completely different gameplay to Megan, who picks up the game today, who has such a different gameplay to me, or game experience, I should say. And I don't think that's bad. I don't think it's great, but I definitely think it adds an element of you could always come back to it. I hate video games that I play once and I'm done. And this is the epitome of post-game. You can't really play the Quarry once. Like, I've played it twice now, and I was just saying to Eldon right before we started, I might just play it again this weekend. It's only about a 12-hour playthrough, and you could get that done in 3 days, 4 days. And I think it's definitely like a nice take on a summer horror story kind of game. It takes a lot of inspiration from the 70s, the 60s and 70s, I should say. And overall, I would say that the way I played the game, I think was probably not the best because it was me, but you don't want to play this game with no deaths, in my opinion at least. If you run up this game and everybody stays alive and nobody's really, you know, getting the tragedy, the trauma, X, Y, and Z, then there's no really point of playing the Quarry. So my takeaway is that it was a pretty high body count, and there was a lot of regret, especially losing Dylan. Like, when Dilly died, I actually felt that in my soul. I'm sorry, Dylan. Like, I don't know if you're watching this, but sorry, man. Caitlin and Jacob were another ones that I was like, damn it, man. Like, they were tight, and I got them both killed. But the ending that we had a lot of weight. We were able to kill Silas. We let Laura, Travis, and Ryan live all together. And then in the end, Caleb was able to survive. His curse was lifted. And it felt like a lot of good closure, just not the closure you go out and celebrate. Like, I'm not going to say that I was not traumatized after playing this game. And I think before we wrap it up, that's kind of like this is kind of going to be my final comp, is just how did it compare to Until Dawn? Now, like, Until Dawn specifically, as you know, we've spoken about many times on the show, and this game had an enormous amount of pressure in my eyes to live up to the Until Dawn cast and characters and story and lore. They're very different, but very similar at the same time. You know, they both have a lot of good extended lore and universe, yet one uses their universe a lot better. Like, I think Until Dawn really uses that scene of Alberta. And, you know, as someone that's been to Alberta, I was actually there last year, and Eldon knows that I am from there as well. So I felt that Alberta was well represented, in this video game. But then when you play the Quarry, as someone that grew up going to summer camps, there wasn't a lot of summer campy things, you know? There wasn't no hidden passageways that I wanted to explore. There wasn't like hidden routes in the forest. Maybe like we dug a tunnel here because we got bored. Like, I really wanted to use the world a bit more, but because it just was a forest on face value is why it was so scary. Like, I don't know about you, but like, as a Canadian, I like the snow. I like going out, running around in the snow, making snowmen, doing all the whole 9 yards. But I don't want to be alone in the forest. Like, I don't know about you guys, but like, that might be scarier than snow for me. So I thought the setting of the Quarry could have been used a bit better. However, the actual suspense of the game was probably had me a little bit more on edge than Until Dawn. As like a summer reflection as a game, dude, I loved playing this game during the summer, because when I look outside, it's all hot and dandy. When you play it in the game, it's the same. And what's cool is that the game also has timestamps and you see the dates. So if you play the game in June, July, or August, it's like canonically that's when the video game also happens. And I would say that like both games are so unique that it would be kind of a disservice to compare one to the other. You know, if you want to play Until Dawn and say, oh, the Quarry is so much better, it's like, nah, man, just enjoy the Quarry for what it is. I personally think Until Dawn's the better game, but that's also like one of my favorite video games of all time. So I can't really ask me. I'm always gonna say Until Dawn. Ivan, shout out to Evan. He actually liked the Quarry a bit more. He thought the characters were a lot better. I'm like on the complete opposite. I think the Until Dawn cast are like 10 out of 10. So to each their own when it comes to these kind of video games. Now, am I like happy and excited that I replayed it? Definitely. You know, this is more of a personal episode, and this is one that I put off because I didn't actually finish the Quarry. You know, when Floyd Rom and I played it, we made all the wrong decisions, made sure everyone hated us, and then even when we thought we did good, not only did Floyd fail to kill Hackett, we then got blicked up ourselves. Like, we got shot. So we had the worst gameplay experience, and I couldn't really compare it. You know, it would be like you need to watch the final act of a movie to really give it a review, and we didn't have the final act, or at least I didn't until now. So I think that for anyone watching, let me know how you played the Quarry. Sorry, let me know if you had people survive that I didn't. Let me know if you had different twists, different endings, different Easter eggs. For the most part, I played a pretty solid and conservative game when it came to collectibles. Like, I made sure I got most of them, like I already mentioned. Not a lot of lore diving though in comparison. Like, there's probably one scandal in the Hackett, the Hackett's Quarry. Eldon's like surprised to hear that, but only 2 people go missing versus Until Dawn, over 50 people and beyond go missing at that campground. So a little different in terms of lore, but in terms of concrete gameplay that you play the first time, both very solid games. And I think if you're more of like a monster summer kind of guy and you like those 60s slashers, the 70s slashers like Scream, Halloween, Friday the 13th, you would love the Quarry. It's like a nice modern take on that classic horror genre that we all grew up with, especially me in my household, and that's why I really liked it. So overall, the Quarry, would I replay it? 100 times over. I loved the game. I thought it was really solid. It's probably like second to Until Dawn, definitively in my books. And I think, what? Yeah, that's a valid point. Eldon's like, isn't there only 2 games? No, like, I'm comparing it to all the Dark Pictures. So for anyone needing actual clarification, yes, I'm comparing that to Until Dawn and then about 6 Dark Pictures games that I've played, specifically The Man in Medan. That's a really good one. We talked about that one too, which was good. But yeah, overall, the Quarry was a fantastic game, and I think as the summer ends, if you still haven't played it, it's August 7th today. Or August 8th, sorry. We got the rest of the month to finish it off. And well, Eldon's shaking his head. By the time it goes up, it's not going to be August 8th. So, like, August 11th, let's say. You got the rest of the month. You got 3 weeks. And make sure you go play this game before the summer ends, because once winter hits, I'm going to want you guys to play Until Dawn again. So that's my take for the day. Overall, the Quarry was a pretty solid game, and I was very happy to finally talk about it today on Screen Chat. I know it's been a couple weeks. I was out on vacation, so why not give you guys a nice little review on the Quarry. You know, take it easy, and I hope you guys are able to play it and let me know how it was, because I had a very interesting experience. So that's going to be it for me today. Thank you once again to the text behind the scenes. Megan, welcome to the show. And thank you, Eldon, as well, for all the ad-libs in the commentary. So thank you, man. I appreciate it. And yeah, that's going to be it for me today. Like I said, the Quarry was a phenomenal game. I really hope you guys enjoy it. Actually, like I said, I brought it today. And, you know, unlike SA2, I actually brought it as well. So this is proof, you know, that I do play the physical media and I do play video games still. So thank you guys once again. That's going to be it for me today. I really hope you guys enjoyed this nice little review of the Quarry. The brand new Supermassive game comes out in fall, which is a Directive 8020. We'll get to that when we get to that, as a wise man once said. So that'll be it for me today. Thank you guys as always. My name is Justin, and this has been Screen Chat. Please stay safe on your FNF Fridays, live from the Media Hub on riotradio.ca.